Okay, so we've got a Hotpoint 50/50 fridge freezer here. This particular model is a STR175WP, and it's a pretty standard 50/50 fridge freezer, around about 6 or 7 years old. As you can see, there's a few things wrong with it. The lights need replacing, for example, or the door seals need replacing. Clearly, but the problem we've got here, and you can see it at the back, is there is ice all over the back, and this is the fridge. So that means the fridge itself has been getting to 0 degrees there or thereabout, and there's ice all the way out here as well. And this was only defrosted 2 weeks ago, so that tells you there's a problem. What is supposed to happen is when you shut the door, if there's any moisture in the air, that obviously will start to coalesce and start to freeze up unless the temperature is above freezing. So what's meant to happen is it's meant to coalesce on this back hole here, flow down to this sort of drip area at the back, and go down that little hole there, and that hole then leads to a pipe which leads to the compressor at the back of the fridge freezer, and the idea is the moisture drips down onto the compressor and then evaporates into the air, and then that's how the fridge is self-defrosting. And in fact, you can confirm that the fridge has a defrosting issue because in the freezer, again, this was only defrosted a couple of weeks ago at the most, I think possibly a week ago, and you can see already a huge chunk of ice building up there. Now normally what happens if you've got a freezer and it's just the freezer that's frosting up, what you'll probably find is that the seals have gone on the door and you need to replace the seals, and that in and of itself is a bit of a joy. I've replaced the seals on the freezer, and I had devil's own job getting it to adhere to the fridge when closed, and in the end I had to get a hairdryer out just to soften it up a bit, push the door closed until it started to take and hold and then let go, and then the magnet was unable to do its work because the plastic was that much more pliable. You're also supposed to put a little bit of grease up the right hand side, so up this edge of the fridge and the freezer door. However, if you use petroleum grease, it will erode the rubber of the seal, so you need to use silicone grease. I'll put a link to some in the description. It's a little bit more expensive, but it will not ever rot rubber. It's well worth having a tub in your toolbox. The point is, you've probably tried the seal. Now you'll notice the whole time this video has been going, if I go right in, you'll be able to hear, if I just stop talking, that's the compressor going. And the other thing I noticed with this was the compressor just never stopped, and that is a clear indicator that the thermostat has gone. So in this particular freezer, I believe the thermostat is behind this control panel just here. If you look up inside, we've got the lights just here. So what I'm going to do is, I'm doing this on a mobile phone, so I'm going to get my toolbox out, I'm going to take this fascia plate off, and then I'll restart the video, explain what I had to do that. I presume it's just this couple of screws. Get this plate off, have a look behind and see where the thermostat's located. I already have a replacement which I ordered from the Hotpoint site directly. Okay, so I should have said obviously before you do any work on your fridge freezer, make sure you turn the power off. So what I've done is I've taken off the 2 screws. There's one here, cap covering this on. Quite fiddly to get that out, needed a very fine flat bladed screwdriver plus a normal flat bladed screwdriver, and I sort of did a piggyback effect on it, and it really is kind of a one-shot deal. I've managed to save the plastic, but that won't come out again. You might want to consider getting a spare one of those if you can. Now once you've got those 2 screws out, this one and this one, thing just pops off the front, and you can see in the back there, thermostat is actually here. The temperature sensor part is poking into the sort of the depths of the fridge further in under that sort of plastic back plate. Now here's my new one, and you can see in fact that the temperature sensor thermostat is only one-ended, so I think what they've done is they basically just poked it in. It sort of finds its own way in there. I also took out the inside lights just to check, and that's where the lights plug in. There's obviously some electronics in this sort of top region here above the ceiling, but there's nothing accessible, so the light assembly is on the floor of the fridge there. So I'm going to pull the old one out. I'll see if the new one will just push in, or if we have to pull the whole fridge out and take the top off. I may take the top off anyway just to verify it's in properly, but we'll see how we go. Okay, so I made a little bit of progress. Thought I'd do an interim clip now. So I managed to pull off the old dial off the front. To do that, I needed a really fine flat bladed screwdriver to get that out. So that then came out, and that allowed me to remove this old nut which was holding the thermostat in place. And that was a 14mm 1.4mm socket, and I should say actually for these screws here, those are the screws which held this on. They are 6.5mm. So if you don't have a 6.5mm socket, you will need a number 2 Phillips. They're in pretty tight, so you need to be quite careful with that. So this is now hanging off. You can do this live. Just try pulling it out. Just see what happens when we pull it out. A little bit nervous about this, but here it comes. Here it comes. I haven't actually googled this at all. I probably should have done. Never mind. Here it is. Near it out. There it out. And it is out. And as you can see, that is one long straight thermostat rather than the sort of a held up. So essentially what you're expected to do is to straighten it out as you push it in, presumably. I'll try and copy what they've done here, the bending of the wire that they've done, etc. Okay, so that's the old one. I'm not going to be able to put this new one in single-handedly, so give me a moment. I'll try and push this into the guide there. Okay, so that was really straightforward. I was able to feed it in. Actually, look very closely. That's actually a little bit of red tape. It's actually a label and it says stop on it. And looking at the old one, that had a very similar bit of orangey red tape. So that's clearly a guide to say stop feeding the damn thing in and don't overdo it. So that's gone in. I'll now mount this back up, get the electrics connected up. When you've got this connected into the fascia, black lead and there's a brown lead. The black lead goes on the upper connector and the brown goes on the lower one. The earth goes on the earth connector. That's always going to be on the chassis, just there. And then once the electrical connections are on, then we'll get the new retaining nut screwed into the front fascia, get the knob back on, and then time to get the whole of the front panel connected in and ready to go. This was worth sharing. It's just a really handy little locator lug here. You see this little gap here that I'm indicating with my finger? That is for this section here, if you can see it. Just see that tab just there that's just protruding? That locates into that little gap in the plastic fascia, which means that it's in the right way up, and it has to be this way round so that the electrical connections are to the right, which would make sense because these other electrical connections are this other side, and for safety reasons you'd want them as far apart as possible because there's got mains going through here and mains going through the others as well, so you'd want them separated as much as possible. Okay, so that's in place now, so connectors all on, thermostat wire itself all routed, and the front nut on. I did need a pair of long nose pliers just to get that nut started, and then the 14mm nut runner after that to get it in. There's the old one down there. So now we'll get this front panel screwed in, make sure that the actual thermostat wire itself isn't obscure in any way inhibited, and then we'll give it a test. Okay, so that is now done. I've cleared out all the ice that was on the back there. I just left that for illustration purposes. That is pretty much it now. What I'm going to do is leave it running for a good hour or so, and then when it has done, we'll be able to test whether it's working. First of all, the compressor won't be on all the time, and second of all, the compressor will cut out when we turn it down to 0. So I'm going to leave it on max for the moment, really try and get it super cold. As I leave it on for about an hour or so, come back in a moment and we'll see if it has done the trick. So that's it, it's all done. It's all cleaned out inside as well, all ready to put the shelves back in and the food in. Hope that helps. Do please leave a comment below if you've got any questions or any constructive feedback. Constructive feedback respectfully delivered is a gift. I truly believe that, and I'm very, very grateful for all of your comments. Also, please consider subscribing. I will be sure to upload more videos, and be sure to press the bell icon so that you get notified every time I upload a new video. Thanks for watching. Take care.